Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening to wherever you are in the cosmos. Welcome to the weekly
Pleiadian
admin
chat with your host, Shamanka, Natalie, Alaya.
Hello.
Bridget Rau.
Hello.
And me, Alexis, the White Light Ninja. We are talking today about a really important and exciting subject today, which is what is a starseed and how do you know you are a seed? We're going to share our stories today about how we came to find out that we were starseeds. So, Bridget, let's hear your story.
Well, basically, it started back in 2011. I had no prior anything with this stuff. It just kind of came out. All of a sudden, I was awakened to, there was stars in my backyard that I was like telepathically communicating with, and things were just picking up faster and faster, and I started researching things, and one video led to the next, and I ended up stumbling upon, Are You a Pleiadian? And when I read it, everything in there resonated. And so I kind of went on this like very long journey of researching and just digging for more information on it. And eventually it led me to Lavendar's website for starseed marking readings. And when I was reading about how she discovered the starseed markings, I was like totally everything cemented in for me, because I guess at certain points there's different dates that line up for the Pleiadian lineup, and during that time you can have what they would call like special projects, or they send in starseeds with special mission, and the dates are in November and in May from the 15th to the 20th. But on her website it had stated that the 17th, 18th, and 19th were some of the highest activity times. And it was so funny and resonated so deep, because I've always said, oh, I was born May 17th, a minute away from the 19th. Or I was due on the 17th, I was born on the 18th, a minute away from the 19th. So I've always incorporated all three of those dates when I tell people when I was born. And that's what really just cemented everything in for me right there. I was like, okay. And other stories from other people, you know, I used to listen to Larry Locken's stuff and really resonated with his information. But it was just an inner knowing that continued to grow, and more information that I received, the more it was like, yep, that's what I am.
Yeah, that's really interesting. I love the fact that you were communicating directly with the stars, Bridget.
Oh my God, yeah, it was so cool. At first, it was just there were stars out there, and they were so bright, and I was like, what is going on here? It's to the point where I went out and bought a telescope, and it was evening upon evening, I'm out in the yard just growing this communication with them. My fiance thought I was friggin' nuts. My mother thought I was like losing it, but eventually I started communicating with them, and you know, I'd get the up and down for yes and the back and forth for no, and it just grew from there.
Wow, and we realized in our last show that we all have something. We all started connected with Orion and the Big Dipper.
Yeah, from the time I was a kid, I always, you know, nobody ever taught me about what constellations were what or anything, but I always had a knowing about Orion, and I would always stare at Orion's belt. And the way I've looked at it and perceived it is, you know, if we're from the Pleiades, which is in the eye of Taurus, and Taurus is the constellation for my, you know, my horoscope. So one day it kind of just snapped. It's like, it makes sense. We'd be staring at that from our home.
Right.
That's what we'd be looking at. So
and that's why it may not be that we're from there, but that we saw that star in our star. When we were on that planet. That makes sense.
Yeah. Definitely, because it was like I had that wonder in the beginning, like, well, maybe I have an Orion connection, because I always knew who Orion was and the belt and all that, but the more information that I received, that was what I came to believe is that it was more that I was staring at it in all my lives.
And can you just, we had a really great discussion, and I want to recap it here for people about the Rh negative, because I think we actually made a really big, important discovery through our chats about this. So explain about how, first of all, just to give back up about your knowledge about the Rh negative, how you got into that, researching that.
Okay, so basically, the whole Rh negative factor, it played a big key role to me in this awakening process, because at one point I was told that I was Rh negative, and the reason I remembered it was because my name's Bridget. People call me B. I remembered it as I am AB negative, because I'm one of the rarest types is AB negative, and so I went off into this big journey, just on YouTube. All of this information kind of connected, and then one day the Rh negative stuff started popping up, and I was like, what? Off, and I researched it, and talking with both of you has made me aware to a whole new thing. Like, I used to think about it as the Anunnaki came in and manipulated our DNA, and that's how this came about. But now I'm thinking, yeah, the Anunnaki came here to make their slave race, but then the Pleiadians came in 30,000 years ago and created, this bloodline for us to incarnate in. I think
Connect with being starseeds. So, yeah, now, Alexis, I'd love you to jump in now and read that bit that you read about the bloodlines. You read something, Alexis.
she's on mute.
Yeah. Let me see. Okay. Okay. Oh.
You had put me on mute.
Oh, sorry. Okay.
Oh, it's okay. No worries. It's probably better for the sound, but let me pull that up right now, because it is really important, and it's information that I've stumbled upon in my journey. But looking at my computer. Where is it? Where are you?
I'm sharing controls right now as as we're talking.
Okay. Yeah, I had that website queued up before, but hold on a second.
I looked down and I'm like, oh no, she's not there.
While you're looking for that, so basically the Rh negative, just to give a genetic background, the Rh genes, there's actually many of them, and they're big genes, and the Rhd is the biggest one that causes the problem, where the mother, if she's Rh negative, she can reject the baby. An Rh positive, she'll make antibodies that will attack it. And in the Rh negative, that whole gene is taken out, and that is so rare. Usually there'll be like 1 or 2 base pair mutations, and that'll change a gene, or you'll get a bit of it truncated. But to have a whole gene taken out of a bloodline, it makes you think there's some sort of manipulation, genetic manipulation. And we've always thought, or the way that I've heard it, is that it was like what you said, the Anunnaki, but actually it's probably something totally different.
Right, because the Anunnaki came here and they, they manipulated DNA to make a slave race.
Right.
I don't know if many people are familiar with the planet Nibiru and all that stuff, but our solar system goes around the sun in a round pattern. There is another planet, it's called the 12th planet, and you can look into Zechariah Stitchin's information about the Sumerian tablets, and there's lots of literature available and videos available that kind of explains. They come around, and the years that they have is different. Some people say 3600, some people say 36,000. It depends where you get that information from. But when they come around here, they are trying to get monatomic gold to repair their atmosphere for their trip out and back. And when they came here, I think what happened is there was like Neanderthals and the Soltrians and people like that here, and they manipulated them to become a slave race so that they didn't have to mine the gold themselves. And that's that's when, you know, we had that big jump from being Neanderthal to like Cro-Magnon. But at some point in your research, you found 30,000 years ago, we started having this Rh negative mutation, which, you know, it's very quiet. Nobody talks about it. It's like, why is this happening? And only other time you find this in nature is if you're trying to make like a hybrid being where you would mix like a horse with a donkey to get a mule.
Right.
And people attribute it to, you know, the bloodline of, some people call it the Holy Grail, some people call it the Blue Bloods. All of the royals and a lot of the presidents have Rh negative. So it's like, what is so special about this thing, and why is it so kept quiet? And there's just so many aspects to it. But again, speaking with you guys today, it made sense. But then I'm thinking, I'm like, well, why are the royals and stuff like because they're so like, oh, we have to have it stay in, you know, like they only breed with their own kind.
I have a good answer for that one.
Yeah, go on.
Well, I mean, it makes sense. If you're trying to control and enslave an entire population, you have to institutionalize it, right? So you're going to have people at the highest levels that have this blood type. I think it keeps it all together, and I think to me, that just makes sense that they would be in positions of power.
Right.
They could be easy. They're saying that they're abducted, so I wonder if they're being controlled, you know?
Right. My thing used to be, before we talked today, was like, I felt like I had incarnated in an Rh negative, almost like to play like a undercover. Like you come in under this disguise to come out, and you know, like you can infiltrate from the inside because you're not part of the ones that they want to kill off. You know, like they talk about how like the Illuminati wants to kill off 85%. I used to think like, okay, well, you know, they're sending starseeds in this Rh negative that are resistant to HIV, that are resistant to things that they might try to do to kill us off, so that we can still be here and kind of overthrow those ones that are in power.
Yeah, it's quite interesting. I'd love to read what you found.
Quick question though. I mean, just from a layperson's point of view, like what makes someone start? How do you even know about RH? Like, what makes you think RH blood types? Like, is this people talking about it in the spiritual community? People then start questioning and researching. Like, I'm just wondering, like, what makes someone go look for their blood type?
Well, my personal reason why I found out was because of I was pregnant, and when I didn't have the baby, they wanted to give me a RhoGAM shot, and I was like, why? And it was because I was Rh negative. So if I got pregnant again, the baby
could reject the baby. Yeah.
Right. So I was like, oh, what's that? And then when I was doing research about the Pleiadians and stuff, I had seen one article that said they may be Rh negative, and I was like, oh, I'm Rh negative. So that started my whole thing. And there are groups dedicated to it.
Now there is go on, Alexis, and we'll talk more later.
Sorry, thanks for answering that for me, because I was like, I just want to, you know, keep it in perspective, because depending on where someone's at in their awakening, like some of this stuff is just like, woo, overwhelming.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. So here's what it says. Rh negative bloodline is blood that is inherently karmicless. Karmicless blood. The ancestral miasm from previous human generations is not recorded in the same way as karmic blood patterns that are passed down into future generations. The karmic miasma patterns of repeated lifetimes on Earth are energy stamps that are recorded in the blood of every being that is born into this dimension. Rh negative blood is sourced from the stars. As such, they may be called starseed people. Because there are less karmic energetic imprints in the blood, higher spiritual energetic bodies of the Rh negative person have a tendency to function or operate at increased levels than in the majority of the human population. These include higher sensory abilities such as telepathy, empathy, clairvoyance, clairaudience, direct spiritual knowing, reading energies, ET contact, and awareness that may develop into higher compassion tendencies towards other humans in the earthly kingdoms. This bloodline has a natural resonance to reconnect with a higher DNA activation. For this reason, ETs such as Gray, studying DNA code and attempting to replicate DNA, abduct more Rh negative people. For the above reasons, Rh negative people are primarily manipulated with superimposed karmic burdens, many sourcing from Anunnaki or other reptilian distortions made in the blood. This is the attempt to distort the blood pattern of the Rh-negative person so they cannot be successful or productive in changing the DNA or consciousness structure on planet. Jesus, that's profound.
Yeah, it is.
God, I'm like, Jesus. That explains things, right?
Right. It does.
Because their blood holds higher DNA potential, the NAA, negative alien agenda, and reptilian races do not want this phenomenon to occur through the planetary consciousness field. This impact is known as the 100th monkey effect. When the collective consciousness reaches certain patterns, these influences can impact the collective consciousness on Earth. The NAA works against this phenomenon from occurring in order to maintain their agenda of promoting a human slave race on this planet and for other planets which they seek to control. So it's super important that we get our healing and we do our work because it affects everybody.
Right.
Absolutely.
It's crazy. It's like, oh my God.
Yeah, I think like it maybe even the whole thing just that you were, I'm just making a connection now about the royals.
Yep.
And having so maybe they were definitely interfered with. I'd say the royals are the Rh negative groups, like they obviously had the starseed potential, but maybe the NA, what did you call them, NAA?
Yes, the negative alien agenda. Mm-hmm.
They must have manipulated a subgroup of the Rh negatives to stop other Rh negatives from really connecting with their starseed and their power. It makes so much sense. And there is also a racism thing, because then there was this whole thing with the Rh. Now, you asked about how'd you get into the Rh. I'm an immunologist. That's how I was trained. I have a Ph.D. in immunology. And I studied all this. I even typed myself. I tissue typed myself.
Wow.
Yeah. And so I learned all about the genetics, and there is some misunderstanding about where the rhesus, the Rh, the name for it, it was just the animal model that the scientists used. They injected blood into, a protein into rabbits, got the blood from the rabbit, poor little rabbits, and then injected it into rhesus monkeys and had this reaction, and that's why it's called rhesus monkey.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, that's it. That's the only reason. So it has nothing to do per se with monkey genes. It was only the model. What?
I remember seeing some video about this, and so whenever one monkey actually does something, so there's something about within the species of one of the animals or humans in the species, they do something kind of different, and it affects all of them. They all start doing it.
Yeah, that is the 100 monkey effect. You need only a certain amount, and then all of a sudden one will change everyone else. They'll do something different, and then all the rest will follow on. Yeah.
That's what I was crafting my video challenge.
Oh yeah.
That's exactly what I was trying to do. Get everyone excited. Oh, sorry, Bridget, you go.
I was just going to say, something just came in about why there would be the royals like that. So you have to think about it from this standpoint, too. All the reptilians are also starseeds. So if we're having an Rh negative blood type be, good for starseeds to incarnate in, maybe the reptilians are going in trying to incarnate in just the royals because they are in place of power, or the president families because they are in place of power. So that's like basically what you guys were saying, but it breaks it into like, okay, it makes more sense to me to say it like, oh, well, they're starseeds too, but they're the reptilian starseeds.
Yes.
Yes. Icke, this is how I first learned about all of this stuff back after 9/11. I started reading David Icke, and he has, I don't know, hundreds of books, but he really goes into all the details if you really want to understand the history. Are you guys familiar with his work?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I love his.
Yeah, he explains this stuff really well. Like, oh my gosh, there's a lot to know.
I know, like even about the moon and like so much stuff, and it makes sense when you sit there and listen to like all of his information.
I have to take breaks with his information. It's too much. I'm like, okay,
like 8-hour videos. I'm like, that's a lot.
Yeah, he does. He has a lot. I don't always resonate with him,
I don't
but
know.
some of the stuff, like I always thought that George Bush looked like a reptilian. I could see the reptilian energy, kind of almost like an overlay on the
Yes.
Bush family, and actually a lot of the royals. You kind of see this like reptilian energy coming out of them. It's like, okay, so some of the stuff he's definitely correct on.
Yes.
Definitely.
Yeah.
So I think this thing is really big, and so we need to support the, in a way, really encourage the RH negatives to connect to their starseed self. So maybe this whole chat is to help other RH negative starseeds wake up and step into their power and help raise the vibration.
And heal their DNA. I mean, giving the Munay-ki, right? The Munay-ki heals and upgrades your DNA.
Absolutely. Now, I know I am RH positive. We did discuss this before. I don't feel any less or anything less than someone who's RH negative. But that dynamic just is not in my energy field to feel like, well, I'm better than you. And I know you're the same, Bridget. But
Right.
some people tend to try to play the race game, I think.
I think it's important to remember that we are all fired and coded at different points to remember to wake up, to have something else spark us. The fact that I was RH negative sparked something for me because my journey and my path had led that way through synchronicity. I mean, I wasn't looking for anything about RH negative to do with the starseeds, and it just came to me. So if you're RH positive, you have just as much information out there that's going to link you and lead you. I mean, from my birth date to my connection with dolphins, I mean, you're going to find your own path, and I don't think it matters what you are.
Cool. But it is interesting. I think this is big because I think it's kind of our history.
Yes.
And so much of it has been hidden, and I love how we're uncovering it. Good job, ladies. Seriously.
I know. Today was a very awesome day. Like just talking with you girls and finding out, like, I had a whole new perspective come in and new information come in about this topic. And I had kind of given up hope on this topic a while ago because people don't relate to it well. They get kind of like put off by it, like especially if you are RH positive or RH negative and somebody else is talking about it from their standpoint. It's like the race cards being pulled.
Yeah.
But I think we've kind of covered it in a way that we're not coming from that point. We're not trying to say
we're not at all. So I wanted to ask Alexis, because you had mentioned it. I guess we had a previous admin chat and it didn't record properly. Tell us how you discovered you were a starseed, Alexis.
Okay, well, for me, it really happened organically over a long period of time. I couldn't settle into a lot of this information. Like it all started with the spiritual journey that began in 2003. I had this out-of-body experience that was terrifying to me. I literally saw myself as a ball of light and saw past lives, and it terrified me to my core. Like, it wasn't a dream, it was very, very, very real, and I was scared and shaking after it, and I felt like I came back through dimensions, and that kind of started my quest. But at that time, we just had 9/11. Like, 9/11 was a really big event on the planet, and that really, I knew something, it triggered something in me. I had an aunt die, so I had all these things that were happening, and it was just like, all of a sudden my world was kind of topsy-turvy, and it set me down this spiritual path. And I synchronistically, it was also the time I started talking to God. After I had my awakening, I randomly just started talking to God. Like, I just knew God existed. Source, energy, goddess, like I see it's all the same thing. But I started talking to the invisible air, and I just started talking to God like I'm talking to you right now. I was like, God, what are you? What do you look like? How do I know you're real? What's religion? Which religion is the right one? I was asked like a child. I was so naive. I had no idea. And I was just led to a lot of information. I found David Icke, his books, a lot of random books. I have a teacher that I've known since kindergarten who used to take me to ashrams in Oakland. and she taught me meditation from the time I was little. I think she knew I was, in for a crazy old ride with my family.
I'd say so. I'd say she must have known.
Oh, yeah. We're still super close. I love her. Miss Bobo, if you ever hear this, I love you. Anyway, she's always giving me books, so we'll get together and we'll go have lunch, whatever, and she's always got, I've got a box of books for you. And she will always, and at that time, she handed me this huge, and I loved to read. I've always been a huge, huge reader since I was little, and I just ate them up, and I ate everything, and that was the first time I learned about the Pleiades. And I was drawn to it. I opened it up. I read about how our DNA was going to be upgraded, how we were going through this shift. I didn't really take it very seriously. It was like information overload at that time. Like, I was exposed to so much. Bridget, I know you must have gone through this too. It was like all of a sudden, like a whole library just was thrown at your head. Like, of tons of information and data. That's what it was like. So I was just reading tons and tons of different metaphysical books and David Icke and all this stuff. And anyway, it's unfolded. I've had 2 different massive awakenings. I think they were initiations. I think all starseeds are like coded or initiated, and I think our lives turned upside down. I literally had to go down this path because no other path was working for me. Like, all the other doors of normality, 3D world that I was living, every single door closed for me. I was literally pushed down this path. And randomly, a friend of mine called me a starseed. He told me to watch a video, and I was like, yeah, okay, I'm a starseed. And then I started connecting with people on Instagram, and I started having conversations, and it was the conversations with these people that really changed everything because, something I mentioned in the last show is that my whole entire life, like, you have to understand, like, there was a huge part of me that was extremely private that I never shared with anybody just because I couldn't talk to anybody. I was always called weird. I was always called an alien. And so, and I was always kind of, like, serious, like a little old lady when I was 5. I was just, and you could probably see it, but I was just, the way I am now was like this at 5.
Sorry.
My brother's always like, you were like 30 when you were 5 years old. It was really weird. And I was like, yeah, I know. Anyways, I've always stuck out like a damn sore thumb, and I actually hid a lot of my personality because it was lonely and alienating, and but I didn't fit in anywhere, and it made me uncomfortable to get that much attention. So anyways, fast forward to 2012, my life turned topsy-turvy again. I started connecting with all these Indigos and Starseeds on Instagram. And then I found the Pleiadian group, I think through Bridget, through her Creatively You site, and I started having conversations with people, and all of a sudden, I went from being a person that like felt like an alien, that had no friends, oh, that's the other thing. I felt like one part of my life assignment just ended. I don't even know where that came from, but I felt like I have no contact with my old life anymore, pretty much. No friends. I don't talk to any of my family. Like, I feel like whatever I was meant to do with them, it's done. We're done. And
maybe you had a part walk-in, like a part of your soul walk-in for that.
Yes. That's funny because I started seeing shamans and getting soul retrievals, and a big part of me was not there. So, yes. But I really feel like I'm done with them. And I felt like I didn't know what to do with that feeling, by the way. So if you are a starseed and you're going through this, it was a scary, disorienting feeling. I got suicidal because I was like, I have no purpose. I don't have kids. I don't have a family. What am I doing here? I had no idea why I was here. I just felt like, why am I here? Oh, my God. It scared me. It really terrified me. But everything was kind of pushing me to go in this direction. And eventually I saw an Akashic reader who told me I was a Pleiadian. I started getting a lot of shamanic healing, energy healing. And I found the Pleiadian group, and it was the weirdest thing. All of a sudden, like right now, I just had a million things in common with people. And as we kept having conversations, I was like, wait, what? You do what? You have this happen? What date did that happen? I just started putting together all the dates and times, and like, we just have so many things in common. So, and then when I found information about the Blu-ray, I was like, yes, this is what I am. Like, I honestly felt like I was searching for billionaires to figure out what the hell I was. And when I read the Blu-ray stuff, I was like, yep, this is it.
Yeah, same.
I was like, the lost forgotten one? Yep, that's me. Uh-huh.
Yep.
And we all have so much in common. I mean, the more we talk, it's actually kind of amazing how much we have in common.
The conversations are the best. I think that's the best way to really explore what you are deep down. And I think a big part of my journey too was really getting to know who I was and letting go of all the shame and fear and really coming out. Like, I kind of feel like I came out of the closet. I'm like, I'm a weirdo. You know, I'm like, I'm not gay, I'm just a weirdo. I'm a starseed.
While you were talking, I remembered something that I had forgotten. When I was young, when I was about 8 or 9, I had a story. I used to think that I came from another planet and that we crashed into this planet and the other people either didn't make it or they ejected, but I landed here. And I used to look up at the stars and go, why did you leave me here? Come back and get me. Yeah. I was just remembering that now. Yeah. It was like I used to think of it as a fantasy. It was like a story that I would tell myself about, like, because I felt like the black sheep, the odd one, the alien. So that's how so in a way, I kind of knew even back then, but for me, it was first having the blue beings. I was going to ask you, I've seen the blue beings. Bridget, you've seen it. Alexis, have you seen the blue beings?
No, but I've seen many spaceships. No blue beings.
Okay. Yeah, cool. Yeah, I've seen UFOs too. Bridget, have you seen UFOs? Spaceships, UFOs, cloud ships? Oh, did Bridget go out? She must have had to leave. Sorry.
Oh, no.
Yeah, okay. Bye, Bridget. Thanks.
Bye, Bridget.
Yeah, I first saw these blue beings in my dreams, and then I started talking to them, and I wasn't sure where they were from. I wasn't. It took a while I think it was until I read Barbara Hand Cloud.
Mm-hmm. Oh, I love her.
That I put together that they were Pleiadian. But I also had a psychic teacher. I was taking like a psychic course, increase your psychic ability. Yeah. And he told me he saw like the 3 stars of Orion's belt like over my head, or he sensed them in my energy field. And before he said that to me, I knew he was going to say that to me. It was one of those kind of moments where I could tell that he was going to say this to me. And so at first I thought I was from Orion. Then I thought after I read Barbara Hand Cloud, I thought I was Pleiadian. And then I had a Akashic record reader told me I was Andromedan.
Wow.
So I think I've been in all of them. I probably was originally Andromedan and then spent time in Pleiades and then Lyra, where else? Syrian. I definitely feel I spent time in Sirius.
Mm-hmm.
But for starseeds who are wanting to know, so it's like it can be your intuition, stories, dreams. It can be from going to a psychic reader. You could go to me, Bridget, or Alexis for a reading. We'll be able to tell you if you're a starseed or not, because we have a lot of knowledge, the 3 of us, and there's loads of ways to get it. So meditation, inner knowing, getting guidance from someone else. Those are all valid ways of figuring out if you're a starseed.
What I've noticed in the group is that, so I've been kind of I've been writing articles about my journey and, what I see and feel. Oh, there's Bridget. Are you in your car? That's awesome.
Yeah.
I went outside and lost Wi-Fi, and then I got back in the car, and I think I'm just on my regular network.
Oh, that's cool.
But you're here. Great. I was just saying that starseeds can also, so there's the inner knowing, meditation, or whatever, but all 3 of us could help people know if they're starseeds. If they want to know, they can contact Bridget, me, or Alexis, whoever they resonate with, and we'll tell them what we feel and connect with, So there's all sorts of ways.
Definitely.
Would you guys say that I've been noticing in the group, I'm starting to notice there's a pattern. I'm like, and I've been trying to track this and write this out. But Bridget, you've been admin longer. Have you noticed it's like people get to the group, they're totally confused. They don't know really why they're there. They kind of resonate. Like there's this chaotic, disoriented. Then they start asking a lot of questions. I feel like when you're first awakened, your life is kind of turned upside down, and A lot of people are like, I feel a lot of anxiety, my body's doing weird things, I'm having strange things happen, what do I do? Like, I would definitely suggest to anyone ground as soon as you can every day to deal with those symptoms. But do you think there's a process?
Well, I think that everybody goes through their own thing. One way to kind of like jumpstart yourself and get through this process quickly is to join some of the groups and communicate with other people, because
Yes.
when you find others that are like, oh, me too, and yeah, I had that, it's like, oh wow, because it definitely, and it helps you to see things from a different perspective and get other people's input, so that, you know, if something's not quite clicking in your head, like with me and you guys with the RH negative stuff, like that type of stuff opens up so much more quickly. And you and I, we all had like a download today of information that just came through.
Yeah.
So I would and yes, it does go in cycles. Like, I've noticed people come in, they learn a bunch of stuff, and then they kind of go off on their own. Like, I did the same thing. I was there, I had no friends, wasn't doing anything, and then I took off, and now I'm like doing all this spiritual work, and you know, it's a jumping point, I think, for people.
Definitely. You suggested something in the last show that I think is a great suggestion. You had said that if you feel some strange feeling, post it in the group, because I think you had said that 1,000 other people would probably be feeling the same thing, and I've seen that happen so many times. It was a really good suggestion that you had.
Yeah. It's good because people will be, I'm feeling dizzy, I'm feeling lightheaded, what's going on? And everyone else jumps in, me too, and this and that. And it's great because you don't feel so lonely.
Yeah, exactly. This is weird stuff, for sure.
It is. It's starseed stuff. Starseeds tend to go through, they're more sensitive than earthlings, like regular, you know, because there are humans that are just earthlings. They've always been earthlings, and, you know, they seem to be less sensitive in some ways than the starseeds.
Oh, way less sensitive. Like, that's something that always stood out to me. Like, hey, you know, that's another connection. My whole life, people were like, you're just too sensitive, and also, adults freaked out around me. I would say things to them, and I now realize how psychic I was. Like, I just knew stuff, and they would look at me like, what the hell? She needs to be quiet. Like, because I would just say, you know, I was that weird kid that just said weird stuff, but I was always called, you're too sensitive. Like, I've heard that 1,000 bajillion times in my entire life.
It's annoying.
And I think that's probably why. I think it's probably the starseeds are meant to be healers and light workers, and in some capacity, don't you think? Because we can sense all that really subtle stuff.
Exactly. And the whole thing about being psychic, at least this is how I see it. It's like most people have a range of sensing, let's say from 0 to 20 or 40. Psychics just have a wider range.
Yes, exactly. They're on a different frequency.
It's not like I have a superpower, you don't. We all are psychic. And people can increase their sensitivity.
Yes, definitely.
Oh, she's back.
I see your blue earrings.
Hi, Bridget.
Your butterfly wings.
Aww.
Hi.
So, Bridget, what can you tell us, because you gave on the last chat that didn't work out, you were talking about the Lyrans and Arcturians. I don't know if you have that information on the top of your head, if you want to talk about some of the traits of the starseeds, what they're like. I'd love to hear that again.
Okay, so basically, all starseeds kind of have like a basic characterization to them. I mean, you probably are a loner. You probably are, you know, more prone to have depression or anxiety, things that other people don't. Like, you're probably introverted, or if you are extroverted, you probably need times where you kind of just sit back and have time to absorb things by yourself. A lot of starseeds are more inclined to topics like spirituality or math or science, astronomy, things like that. What I've noticed when it comes down to like defining a different type of starseed, it's usually more there's only like a few like very discerning things between it. The Lyrans are the lion people. They're very feline. They are some of the oldest race that we are connected with. And what happened was there was the Orion Wars, where their planetary systems were destroyed, and they went off and migrated into other areas like the Pleiades and Sirius and wherever, Vega. And when that happened, other races were created. So the Pleiadians are basically a Nordic type, like they're, you know, white with blonde hair. They can incarnate here in any form, though. I mean, you can be Pleiadian and be African American. You can be Pleiadian, Asian, whatever. It's just they're just the way that they are described on their home planet. But then when the Lyrans went to these other places, Sirius is like a big like library almost. There's the dolphins there that connect with us on a telepathic level, and the dolphins here are very connected, and they're like, you know, otherworldly.
Oh yeah.
Then there's the Syrian feline race. There's the Syrian mer people race, and there's you know, like the elemental, like the fairies, kind of like
The nature spirits.
Right, like that. So it's everybody has their own thing. Like, you know, Lyrans are very connected to music, but they don't necessarily mean that your soul came from Lyra. You're going to be doing anything with music. You might just really enjoy it.
Right.
And artist of like poetry or whatever. I think all starseeds are very, very creative.
Yeah.
In whatever field they do. And you just, I mean, it's kind of hard to like put a specific thing on any one person. I mean, every time I've read something, I feel connected to it. But I think another key role to remember here is like the rays. If you're a Blu-ray, you're going to be a lot different than say, indigo.
Totally different.
Right. You have to do a lot of research into it to figure out where your soul origin came from.
So do any of you know the Blu-ray traits off the top of your head? Because I don't. I'd love to give some Blu-ray traits. I know they're kind of older, aren't they? They're like in their 30s to 50s.
Yep.
They were quieter for a long time. They're only kind of awakening now. Oh, I know what the one big thing I know about Blu-rays is usually they were born into highly dysfunctional families.
Yes.
Heal the DNA. You know, we're almost like scientists at some level, us Blu-rays.
Yes. No, seriously, yeah.
They're researchers, and they're like us. Like, okay, we research everything. We want to know the answers to everything, and we spend a lot of time alone. And we do heal other people's stuff. You know, we let our stuff go, and we heal other people's stuff. And it's like, even with my home life, I'll go to my mother's house and I walk in there and everybody bombards me with like their problems, and my mom's like, stop, she's never gonna come back. But it's like, it's just what happens when you walk into a place. It can happen at your work, it can happen anywhere. It's like you're the peacemaker, you're the one that people just want to come pour their shit out to.
Yep.
And I mean, they do that with the other ones too, but I think we were like the ones that kind of paved the way for that.
Yes, I have a description here that I feel like really captures a lot of it. I can read.
Yeah, please do.
Okay, so Blu-ray traits, and I definitely related to all of this. Transformers, using alchemy, you naturally transmute lower energies. So, like you just said, people coming to us to talk to them, and then we're like, we put them in a better mood. I know that we do it naturally. Like, it comes so natural probably to us.
We don't realize we're doing it, yeah.
We don't realize we're doing it, but I know we're always doing it. Average age, late to 30s to 50s. I'm 37. Tend to be water and air signs. Pisces, Scorpio, Cancer, Gemini, Aquarius, and Libra. I'm Libra. Have similar. You're Cancer? What are you?
Bridget.
Me, I'm Taurus.
You're Taurus.
I'm Taurus.
Okay, so have similarities with the indigo, crystals, and rainbows beings. Ultra-sensitive, intuitive, can easily communicate with the higher realms. You have sacred knowledge and wisdom. You're often mistaken for an indigo, and I feel this is a big critical thing. You're very adaptable and empathetic. Blues are more reserved and quieter than the indigos, and seem mystical in the way they look. Old souls may appear to be more ethereal-looking or starborn. You are about communication, the fifth chakra, and expression through the creative arts and spirit. It is very important for you to express yourself. It's part of your mission. I totally feel that majorly. Like, I used to sing, I like to write, like, I can't shut up. But it's so funny how it's so true, how it says all of us, like, we had a hard time actually learning to speak up for ourselves, because I think we all did.
I know I did.
I definitely did. I definitely was suppressed and wasn't okay. So a little bit more. It says you have blue in your aura. You have lots of blue around you. I've always had tons of blue around me. You will always have violet to help with transmuting lower density. Work with Archangel Michael, Saint Germain, and the Violet Fire. Most are energy or spiritual healers as you wish to heal and help others. Are water types, flowing, emotional, not static, and associated with the divine feminine traits and archetype. Or they are associated.
Yeah.
Music, sound, movement, dance, and nature is very important to you. That's so true for me. Learn how to hide your supernatural abilities and gifts. Stood in the background waiting, watching, observing, and always in the knowing. I so relate to that. I really do.
Yeah, I did too. I wanted to stay in the background after a while. I didn't want to expose myself. No.
So here's another little weird thing, and I thought this was strange because this is so true. Very sensitive. Oh, have great inner long-term persistence. You get to your destination. You're peacemakers with your family and your friends. You feel you're from your stars and you feel out of place in your family. You're very sensitive to foods, chemicals, the environment, noise, electricity. That's so true for me. Need to drink lots of spring water. That when I read that, I was like, that's so weird. I like the taste of spring water better.
Yeah.
I don't even know why. I just do.
It's so funny because I like listen to this stuff and I'm like, I gotta start doing this stuff more because I do like totally like hurt myself like with food and things. Like, you know what I mean? Like every time I eat I get sick and I'm like, why? And I know when I'm eating it I'm like, oh, it tastes so good. Like,
Okay, well, I'm going to put in a plug for the aloe vera juice that I'm selling now. That Forever Living aloe vera juice, because I have so many, I'm the same, Bridget. It got to the point I couldn't, every time I ate it, I wouldn't actually get sick. I would bloat up and I'd get pains in my intestines and, you know, it was horrible. And I even started to think it might be a GMO thing, that it was not just gluten, but GMOs that were affecting me. And the aloe vera juice is wonderful. It just really clears you out, and I feel so much better. So maybe you should try it. Yeah.
Would you guys say, like, I'm also, like, I can sense when... Oh, sorry. Do you guys sense when food is not made with love? Because I have a real adversity to food that's just, like, crap. It's made with, like, bleh. Like, I won't even buy food from someone if they're just have a shitty attitude.
oh my god, yeah, like you can pick up the energy on food. Like I'll order something from somewhere all the time and sometimes it's awesome and other times I can't handle it at all. And I said it's either the way the animal was killed or who prepped it or like even if it's not chicken or whatever, it's like you can pick up on the vibration of whoever prepared the food and you can pick up on the vibration of the food itself.
And this is, again, it just goes back that the starseeds, the two other earthlings, we seem way too sensitive. But you know what? We are.
We're adults.
We are.
I love it. I found my people.
Yes, I think going to a restaurant meal with us, we won't feel embarrassed when we're like, oh, I can't have that, and oh, do you mind not putting that, you know, in and everything?
Could you prepare my food with love?
I'm a starseed. I mean,
oh my god,
with love.
Oh my god, that is so hilarious.
Too cute.
Hey, you know what? When I met my twin flame, Mike, we had all these things in common. That's when I was like, you know, this is when you know someone's your twin flame too, and he's a starseed. But the food thing, the energy thing, we like certain music, certain ambiance in the room. He even fixes the lighting when we're eating, like to make sure it's like nice, vivid lighting. Like, I don't know. I just thought it was so funny that we had all these weird little what could be interpreted as neurotic tendencies. I was like, God, we have the same neurotic tendencies. It's so awesome.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. You had said that earlier in this show about how people were saying you were so sensitive. I two things that were said all my life was I was too sensitive And the other one was that I was too dramatic.
Oh,
But I actually think the dramatic thing is connected to the sensitivity. Because something that someone else feels like a slight pinch, we feel like a sledgehammer. So we have that very big response. Oh no, stop!
It's so true. Oh my God.
Yeah.
True.
And other people are like, what do you mean? You just stubbed your toe or whatever. And it's like, but we're actually, because we're so sensitive, our responses are heightened and we seem over dramatic.
Hey, you guys, do you have this? Because I'm almost positive you guys do this too. But my cats, like I have a lot of telepathy with my cats. Like to me, I can be in a room, what could be quiet to other people, I can sense that this one wants me to play with them, this one wants me to pet them, this one wants to go outside the door. Like I can feel all their desires and needs. Like I can't. To me, it's very loud what they're doing and behaving. Like Bridget, you have to have that because you're so close with your dogs.
She just I think, because she's driving in her car, so she'll come back in though. But yeah, she definitely has telepathy with her dogs, and her dogs are so cute. I
know. I love her profile picture. It's so cute. She's kissing her dog. But do you have that with your cat? Like you feel your cat's needs? Like my cat will stare at me. She manipulates me.
Oh, totally.
She just looks at me. I'm like, what do you want? She's like, pet me, pet me, pet me. And I'm like, no one else can pick up on this stuff, but it's loud to me. Everything. I pick up on every damn thing that's happening in the room.
Yeah. Yeah, and that, again, it's like people see it either as weird or that, some people say, oh, that's like a psychic power or whatever. In a way it is, but it's just an increased sensitivity that we're picking up all those vibrations. And we're being bombarded, let's be honest, all the time with all different light energy, sound energy, infrared. We're being bombarded as we're going through into the newer part of the galaxy, I guess, with our sun.
Yep.
Yeah, we're getting more, and then there's all these solar flares.
That is another thing that made me realize and feel like I was a starseed, because I had been going through physical symptoms and situations that I had no idea. I was like, God, what's wrong with me? And once I came into the community, I started seeing that when we were having, like, it was a full moon, oh my God, my whole life I've always been totally controlled by the moon. Like my emotions would get very erratic near a full moon. But that kind of day-to-day stuff that we go through, like a lot of people, like I've noticed the people that are newly awakening, they talk about it a lot. I'm like, God, I didn't have anyone to talk to for years about this stuff. And I didn't really know what the hell was happening. But that is comforting to see that all these strange little weird things that you're going through, like being super sleepy, or whatever else it is.
Or
like
not being able to sleep at all. Yeah. And then you have this other group of people that are kind of in line with you or also experiencing the same. It's a community feeling. You feel like you belong to a community.
Yes, definitely. So these are definitely, I think that's how you really resonate on a deep level when it clicks in, is when you feel it inside your bones and your gut and your chakra. When you feel it there and you resonate in there, that's when you know it's real. For me, I'm not someone that could just I'm not an impressionable person. I'm someone that's very studious, probably like you, like Bridget too. I need to research things. So I didn't just go read in a book, oh, I'm a starseed. Like this took a long time to really understand everything.
Yeah, me too. Years. And we've talked about this before, about how there seems to be different times. 2001 was a big time for both of us. Bridget said it all started in 2011 for her. That's relatively recent, and she's like really advanced quickly.
She really, really is. She's really knowledgeable about a lot of stuff. That always fascinates me, but I can tell anyone that's listening, there definitely is a difference if you've been awake for, like, I've been going through this for 12 years. But someone that's just newly awake and they get all this information, like tons. We all come from source, and so. But I definitely think there's a whole different type of wisdom that comes with, which is why it would be good to come and talk to us if you ever had a question, because you just have a whole other different understanding when you've been awake for a really long time. Because it's like you have to be able to integrate that into your ego and understand what is the purpose and role of an ego, because you go through an ego death and you lose your ego.
Yeah.
And then you have to kind of understand. I went to being nothing to being like, what am I? I'm part of the earth. Like it was disorienting and confusing, but I definitely think there's a whole different type of wisdom that you get from being awake and then slowly learning how to interact with the rest of the world with this information. Don't you think?
I think we're kind of the pioneers. Like you have that on your blog. I think you're a way shower.
Yes. Yes.
And we set the stage in a way for these people to awaken really quickly and learn quickly, because the earth needs it. We're at crunch time.
Absolutely. Actually, this is a really good point. I'm glad we're talking about this. God, I wish Bridget was here, but
yeah,
that is why, like, I feel like part of my other mission was to learn all this stuff. I really feel like I have a lot of tips and shortcuts for someone that is going through this process, because I made all the mistakes for you. I made a ton. Seriously, I made every damn mistake you could possibly think of, and that's why I want to do the counseling and coaching with Starseeds, especially because I'm like, God, I know what you're going through, and I can tell you what you can avoid. But I do think that we chose to do that. Like, I think it's so loving and nice of us that we went first.
I love that.
It is
so wonderful of me. I did go through a stage where I was angry that I did it. So.
Oh yeah, definitely. Yes.
I was just like, why did I choose this? I chose this? No, I didn't. Why would I? I must have been nuts, or someone tricked me. I did think that for a while too, that I must have been tricked to want to go through all this pain and suffering. But once you get through, you have to get the techniques, and that's what me, Bridget, and you are here for, is to help people get the techniques to work through this stuff.
I think the reason why we choose these roles is because I think when we're in light bodies and we forget when we're in the other dimensions and realms, and I've been reading this, everything is happy and pretty and loving all the time in that dimension. So I think it's almost like an intellectual choice, but we know what we're doing. But I think it's just because from that standpoint, we forget what it's like to be in the physical body, how dense the feeling is, because you really get attached to your ego, and like you come in like forgetting all this stuff. So I think that we're just really like trigger happy when we're up there, like, yes, give me this, I'll take it on, I'll do that,
Yeah, yep. And we're like, yeah, we can do it. And then we come into our bodies and we're like, wow, I want my bottle and this hurts. But something you said there just triggered a thought for me that I lost it. Sorry, Alexis.
You get one of my things.
Sweet moment.
Yeah. It'll come back to you. No, yeah, I know. Now my mind.
We both have it. There was something about the starseeds and the grounding. Oh, I know what it was. I know what I was going to say. Grounding, if you're a starseed, you right now with the energy so high and the Schumann frequency so high, you need to ground daily, maybe 5 times a day.
Exactly.
I feel like I need to go ground after this.
Oh, yeah, definitely. I want to share that. These are part of the mistakes that we made, you and I both made, Natalie. I was told, I had gone to a psychic school, I was told to meditate years ago. And I was like, oh, yeah, I'll do that later this week. I'll do that Wednesday. I'll do it Thursday. I kept putting it off. And I was now you know what you know when you know it. And, when you know better, you do better. But it took me a long-ass time for me to actually meditate every day. But it is so critically important because you're going to suffer. You will suffer a lot more if you don't do this. So the sooner you start meditating, cleaning your energy, and taking some of this stuff seriously, it just really helps tremendously.
Staging, all the little techniques. And you know what? It doesn't take that long. How long does it take to light a sage stick and put it around the room or around yourself? Sit for 5 minutes. You don't have to meditate for 30 minutes. 5-10 minutes, if that's all you've got, that's great. And then maybe walk barefoot even 30 seconds before, when you go outside, just stand on the ground barefoot and then put your shoes on and go about your day.
Yeah, exactly. It really can be, it's all about routine, about getting into a new routine. I really had to be in a lot of pain for the light bulb to go on for me to do this stuff. But then once I did, I was like, oh my God, why didn't I do this sooner? That's part of growing up, right? It's part of growing up.
It is. And something that Bridget had said in the last one too, and it just came into my mind, was about how people, like we each have our own journeys, and there seems to be things activating. So like that that we're getting these huge downloads, and then the downloads activate parts of our DNA or something like that, isn't it? That, and people seem to be having timed activations where all of a sudden they remember. So there's a huge awakening, a huge remembering right now, and that was coded into the DNA.
And don't you think it's going to be, supposedly it's going to get really intense? A lot more people are going to wake up next month.
Yeah, I'm not, we've talked about this. I'm not a doomsday one, but I do think it will get intense because it seems like it's getting intense already. Some people that have even been awake a little bit, I've noticed among the Starseed community, are kind of crumbling right now, and it's sad to see and upsetting.
Yeah, I know it is. And I actually, this month, I was like feeling great. But then I got these weird things, like I got a kidney infection, and then I had this strange mosquito thing, like I was attacked by like freaking 5,000 mosquitoes. Do you remember, did I send you pictures of that?
They were taking your blood, Alexis.
Oh my God. I know. That RH negative thing, that's so interesting. I got to check that out. I don't know what my blood is.
Yeah,
no idea.
Get a blood test, or even go donate blood and ask them. I think they can tell you. I don't know. See, because I worked in the immunology lab, so we got to do all that stuff on ourselves,
Yeah. Well, one thing that stood out to me in what I read was that it sounds like they try to trick people that have RH negative blood into thinking they don't have RH negative blood. It sounds like they're being manipulative with it. I got that impression, but I have to read it again. I have to really look at it.
I don't know about that. I haven't read that, but there is something funny about it, that even the genetics of it. How did a mutation like that? Oh yeah, we're just going to take out this whole chunk of DNA, and that's not something that's like really big. And it is something big, but it seems like it's just, ignored kind of, or pushed to the side.
Yes. Yeah, totally. Man, these talks are great.
Yeah, I'm getting loads of downloads now. I'm just seeing all sorts of stuff, even the manipulation, like we said, with the royals, and how that must be the Greys and the reptilians that they have probably had great potential and then were just sidetracked.
When people years ago when I learned about David Icke stuff, and he was talking about the shape-shifting reptilians, on some level it really made sense to me. Because I always felt like nothing in our society makes any effing sense. Like nothing made sense to me. I was like, what the hell? Like, to me, I always had a sense of that, and I bet you all the Starseeds do, where we feel like something's not right. Something is not right. They're lying. There's something else going on. Like, we get a feeling like that movie, The Matrix, you feel like Neo. What is happening? Yeah. What is really happening? And I really related that movie kind of terrified me because I took it literal. I was like, oh my God, am I living in some test tube somewhere? Do you remember?
Yes, I had that feeling. But
I was so freaked out.
Peace and not love, and even stuff like in the U.S., like in their Constitution. But then you see around you, the reality is that people don't have freedom, and it's not peace, and that's what's wrong. But some people seem to be okay with it, and others, I think the Starseeds aren't.
No, I just think because we're at a high vibration where we are more sensitive and loving and more love and light, to me, this world seems incredibly harsh to me. And I just think it's completely asinine that you listen to the radio, you watch TV, you look at all the billboards, they promote hate everywhere. Where's the damn love like in the 60s? I wish I was around then. Like all that peace and love movement that happened. Like, I really have always resonated with that movement. Oh, Dolores Cannon, that's a good one if anyone wants to know more about the Starseeds. But the 3 waves of
Yep, she's great, Dolores Cannon.
Yes, so she that book is a really great one for Starseeds to read about. So the first wave came in the 60s. Well, they came before them, but that was when they came of age, that whole revolution of all the hippie movement. Like, you could tell, to me, I could really tell who the Starseeds are. They stood out majorly.
Yep.
Like, they really stood out. But yeah, I'm pretty sure that probably most Starseeds feel like this is not right. Like, what's going on here? Something's off. So when I started reading the, David Icke stuff and all the political stuff, and I studied political science, and that made more sense to me. It resonated. I was like, this is terrifying, but this sounds right. It made sense. It made a lot more sense to me. I was like, oh.
You feel the people that are waking up, it's like you feel manipulated. When you're still asleep,
Yeah.
You're somehow okay with the manipulation.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
Or you don't
because
even notice it, or
you're being brainwashed through your music. You're being poisoned with your third eye shut down with all the fluoride that's in everything. You've got all of this manipulation that's happening in the frequencies, the invisible frequencies that we can't see. Yeah, there's a lot of stuff that's trying to make us like brain dead practically. So we're easily programmable. They program us through the TVs. I've never been a TV watcher, like with commercials and stuff. Like I love movies, but my whole life I read.
Yeah, that's why I like Netflix. Oh, I'm a huge reader.
Yeah.
Huge reader, always has been. Yeah. But I don't like ads but they program us even in the TV shows and the movies. Yeah. It's kind of sad.
It's really sad. And so people, I think that's what happens. You first start realizing, when you first start waking up, you start realizing the world around you is not what you thought. Everything we've been told, like it starts to become obvious.
It's upsetting.
It's extremely exciting. You start to see, okay, what's happening? These corporations are actually poisoning us and killing us, and we don't have healthcare, and we don't have a good education system. What's happening? When you start to really put everything together, it's frightening, and it's very scary, I think. And yeah, it's jarring but it makes logical sense. Don't you think?
Absolutely, absolutely. And then so you wake up. So the whole thing with the new starseeds, they wake up and they're all like, oh, everything's negative, or they're like chaos. But you can come through. That's just getting rid of all that debris and all the programming and all the negativity. And once you clear that, you wouldn't go back.
It took me a long time. I call it unplugging from the Matrix. I started unplugging from the Matrix back in 2003. But I'll tell you that, like, you know that saying, you can take the girl out of the city, but you can't take the city out of the girl? The same thing with all the corruption and the brainwashing is that it takes a long time to kind of undo the brainwashing. I've had to do a lot of work on myself to unplug from that whole way of thinking. I mean, honestly, like, do you relate to that at all?
The whole, like, oh yeah, absolutely. Yep. I had to unplug. Alexis, I went through, I think it was about 2006 to 2009. I just totally isolated myself. I was like a hermit. I lived out in really the wilds of Western Ireland. I wasn't even, like where I live now, it's like I live outside of a town that's 15,000 people. Where I was living at that time, I lived outside a village of 300 people. If a tractor went by, I was excited. You know? It's like, oh, there's movement. So I really just went through that time. I think that's how I unplugged. Because I used to be quite plugged in.
Yep.
And I had to unplug, and then I got back just around 2009. A friend said, go get on social media because they never heard from me. Being over here. And that's how I got onto the social media. But I just wanted to be with nature, do my shamanic stuff, and I didn't even really want to connect with people for a long time.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I know. I've definitely gone through periods where I was really alone. But, you know, it sucked, but it was kind of necessary. Like, it really brought me to the spirit world. And now that I'm coming to the other side of it, I'm like, oh, thank God I'm getting to this side now.
Yeah. No, I wouldn't go back. I don't want to go back asleep. I don't want to repeat anything. I'm happy to keep moving forward and, you know, helping with the shift. I'm delighted. And this is a massive time to be born in this world, no matter who you are or where you are. You're here for a purpose. Definitely.
And that, you know what, so when I went through my thing and I didn't stop talking to my family and that whole thing happened, that was a hard process, and I had to find my own way in this, like all of us. But to find meaning again, to find purpose, and I think that I was kind of handed a blank slate. And I'm like, you know, I get to create what I want to do now. But for me, like, it all has happened organically. Like, I naturally just fell into this, what's happening now. I'm like, you know what I mean? Like, a few years ago, I could have never told you any of what's happening now. It was going to happen. I just went with the flow. I was following my flow. and it led me here. And like, you follow the synchronicity, and I think you find your path.
Yeah, it's to train people how to follow the synchronicities, or how to pick up that,
Yes.
what the meaning of the synchronicity is. Because for a lot of people, if they're not trusting or used to their psychic powers, they don't always trust that feeling they get.
That's what I want to do with my coaching. I'd like to try to, because these things are very difficult for me to learn. I've had to teach myself. Mm-hmm. I would like to be able to coach people to go back inward, to learn to trust themselves, learn how to look at synchronicity, learn how to see the world of energy. That's exactly what the kind of coaching I want to do.
Fabulous. And so needed, Alexis, because sometimes you'll have a thought, but it's actually, let's say, caused by an archon or a negative. I mean, the airbenders out there. There's ways, thought forms that can attach. So you can have a thought, let's say, like, oh, I'm a lousy person. And you'll then have that thought, which is actually not your thought, but your body will produce all these chemicals and negative, chemicals to that thought.
Yes, yeah.
It'll bring you down, even though it's not your thought, and it'll bring you down into a negative spiral. And you have to learn how to see, okay, what is a thought? And then let's say you have another thought where you're like, okay, I don't really like that person. But then you think, oh, I'm just being paranoid, and you ignore it. But you don't ignore the thought that you're a lousy person, which is not your thought. So it's about learning to discern. Yeah, between those.
Absolutely. Like, oh my God, I could talk about that one forever, because you know what I've noticed is that I've stepped into this new place as my abilities and everything, and connecting with all of you guys and getting all the downloads and all the healing that I'm doing. I feel like I'm avoiding. It's like I'm on the master path now. I'm not on the student path. I'm now.
You are so good at avoiding drama now. You seem to. I've watched you and
you noticed that?
I did, and I'm like, yeah, go, Alexis. You're like nipping things in the bud, just stating your stuff and moving on. It's like it doesn't even happen,
I have totally, I totally would, like, that's the kind of stuff I want to teach people how to do. And I'm like, you know what? You don't have to get sucked into a lot of this crap. Like, I am honestly, like, dealing with thousands of people literally now all the time. And I'm like, doop, 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 doop. I don't take it personally. But boy, did I work really hard over many, many years. I mean, I had to be in a lot of pain to learn all this stuff, just like you, right? I mean, this is how.
Yeah, absolutely. Too much pain. But here's the good news, people. We're here to help. It doesn't have to be so painful. The new paradigm with this shift is that people can, even be born, the new babies, the rainbow babies, the crystal children. Yeah. They're not going to go through the same traumatic past that we had. But obviously, I think all of us, we were doing a lot of healing on the ancestral lines.
Yes, we were.
And we had to experience or to get into those families that had that much pain to transmute it.
Well, you know how I see it? I feel like I'm starting to see the whole world as energy now lately, everything in every context. But I'm like, okay, we came here to do this. We came here to collect these consciousness. This was consciousness and experiences. The earth is shifting into a higher vibration, and as we individually heal, it's like we were carrying a big bag of loot that was like dirty, and now as we heal it, that loot turns into higher vibration energy that lightens literally the rest of the planet up. Like, I actually think we're collecting all that nastiness to heal it. I really think that's what we're doing.
I agree with you, and all the light workers out there, and the people. There's people like us all over the world doing this, some very quietly, some have bigger names or whatever, but there's loads of us and more coming. And going to the Pleiadian group, going through social media, Instagram, even these Google Hangouts, these are all ways that we can connect, and we can have a community even when we're separated way across the world.
Absolutely.
And get this going, because it's really important for humanity. Okay, I'm going to say, let's wrap this up, because it's getting late over here. So,
I wanted to share websites. I don't know if you have, you want to say yours, I'll pull up Bridget's.
Okay, yep. So if you're interested in getting guidance or healing or tarot reading or astrology, because I'm also an astrologer, you can contact me at www.alayahealingservices.com. I also have a Facebook page, Starseed Shaman, and you can find me on Facebook, and I have a YouTube page, Starseed Shaman. So you can contact me through all of those sources.
Okay. And Bridget, who had to go for she does distance healing, the Munay-ki, New Paradigm Healing. She also does Reiki. I believe she also does a few other things that I'm not sure, but you can connect with her. And she's got we all have our own Facebook group, so you can connect with her at through Bridget Rau on her Facebook. You can also connect with her at becreativelyu.com, and it's BEE creatively.com, just the way you would say it. My site, I have my group and everything. You can link through all of. I have like a million things as well, but you can just go to whitelightninja.com for shamanic coaching. I also have a group. It's called the Sisterhood on Facebook. It's a really cool group. I'm just growing that now, and for also intuitive readings. So just go to White Light Ninja, or you can find me on Facebook at Alexis Serrano.
Okay, so let's say a cosmic goodbye to everybody, and thanks for joining in and listening. Another great show.
Awesome show. Here's my cosmic goodbye. Woo, 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 woo.
Bye-bye.
Okay, bye.